Hello everyone, this is Diane. I have done some work on this journal. These are Traveler's Notebook insert style of journals, which means they're one signature, and they're about 4.5 by 8, and I think the cover is 8.5. So they won't fit into your Traveler's Notebook if you have one, because they're a little bit big for that, but these are made to be standalone journals. They're just that style, and they're just one signature. And each one of these has an embroidered or crochet work cover. And hopefully you saw these in a previous video. So I'm making 4 of them, and they're so pretty. I love this pink one, of course. So I've been concentrating on this one. These all have their pages. All their pages are in there. But look how nice and fat this one is compared to that. This one I've done a lot of work on, and so I'm just going to get started making ephemera that will go in the pockets. I'm doing a lot of pockets with a lot of tags. I'm keeping each pocket and tag pretty simple, but they each of the books will have a lot of them. So I have this one here to help me remember what I have all of these pieces prepared for. I'm going to put the journals aside because I don't think we'll be using them. So the first one I have is this tag. This is a digital, and it looks like embroidery, but apparently someone took a photograph of it and made a digital out of it, and I glued it to this pattern cardstock that's light enough you can write on it, and then I sewed around it and added this crocheted flower that I removed from a doily. So I've done some of the work here. I have these 2 done, and this one, this is the piece of cardstock that I've glued it to, but it has this on the back. So I'm just going to cut it out. It's about, I think most of them are 3.5 or 3.25 by 6.25, but this one is a little bit shorter, I think. It doesn't really matter. I kind of wanted it to be not as tall as the page, because that way this label here can show. And then I'll just do what I normally do to make it a tag shape. Angle one corner, flip it over so they match. And I will sew around this before I glue this on, but those are our 3 tags for the 3 other journals. That was pretty simple because I had most of the work done. Then I'm going to make a pocket. I only have 2 here. I need 3, but I didn't keep on searching for other designs to use, but this is what this one looks like, and it was a nice half circle, but I cut that end off so it would fit, just as I cut the point off of that one, because these are pretty narrow books. This looks like it has a stain on it, but that's because it's an old book, and it might have been transferred from the page opposite it, which happens often in old magazines. I don't know what it was, but I'm leaving it there, and I'm just going to glue it to this piece of cardstock. I mean, I can't remove the stain anyway, so it either stays or I don't use the piece. And this will just get glued into the journal. I don't need to do any sewing. Just leave a slight colored border around it. And then I thought this was really pretty, so I'm going to see if I can make this fit on here. Yes. So this is a needlepoint design, but it was just printed on I think on the cover of a magazine. In these journals that represent different forms of needlework, it's mostly embroidery and crochet, because that's what I gravitate to, and so that's what I had a lot of images of in books with pages. But there's out of vintage books and digital linens and scrapbook paper pieces, and even some fabric, some real embroidery pieces or real crochet pieces are being used in these journals. And I may just leave it like that, leave those corners on to make it a nice tuck spot. Now let me see something here. Yep, that's wide enough. So this is, I showed you this pocket, and this is the tag that I put in it, and it is just a chart, a color chart, I guess. Each number either names the name of the stitch or what color yarn you use. But it's out of a book, and I just tucked that in there. And then I also have this, it's a embroidered stocking image that I put on cardstock. So like I said, I have to find one more, like a chart image or something to make the third pocket, but I have these ready to be the tags to go inside. So I glued these to music paper, manuscript paper, and this is just vintage lined paper. It's this. Very fragile, so I have to use this in a way that it's glued down and not folded into a book. And these tags are, oh, this is the one that's 3 1/4 by 6 1/4, or 7 1/4. 7. So the other tag that I did, the first one is smaller. I'm also using embroidery transfer papers to make some of the ephemera. You can see that I sewed around these two, and I punched the hole and added a reinforcement. I think I broke this. We don't need it anyway. It just caught the little holes. Now I'll just have holes flying around, as long as it works. So I have these pages of reinforcements that I've already colored. I just colored them with ink. When they're this saturated with color, I laid them down on the ink pad, an ink pad like this. I just laid it down and pressed it into the ink. Sometimes I use a brush or something and put color on the reinforcements, but it doesn't come out this vibrant. So it just depends what you're looking for. Now I have some silk ribbon in here, the kind that is used for silk ribbon embroidery. But when I take it off my spool, it has the definite creases where it was wrapped around the card. It's not really a spool, it's a card. So I'm just going to show you how I fixed that problem. I just laid my ribbon out, and I could have taken it to my sink, but I didn't because I'm lazy. And I have a bottle of water in here, a squirt bottle. So I just squirted it with water. . And it doesn't take much to knock those folds out. And I took a paper towel, whoops, there goes the paper towel on the floor, and laid my ribbon down in it and kind of mopped up the wet. Did everything all at once. Dried the ribbons, crumpled them up in here, wiped up my mat. And now they're crumpled, but they don't have that sharp crease in them anymore. And they're so thin, they are damp, and I could let them dry, but I'm just going to tie them right into my tag, and they'll dry very, very, very quickly. Well, if I can manage them 3 at once. And then just trim that to a length that I want. Oh, I didn't sew around. Of course I picked the one I didn't sew around yet. I'll have to take that out so I can sew around it, but I'll do that for all 3 of them. And then they'll get tucked into one of these pockets. I have 2 more of these. I only have the 3. Oh, I've got some stuff tucked in here. So I think you saw these, right? I think we did them in another video. Oh, I already had some of these made. Okay. Yeah, you saw these pockets, and I think you saw these. I tucked some other things in there to make sure I have enough for all 4 journals. So for these, I will just glue them to cardstock and cut around them like I did this. Very simple, just glued, they're not sewn. And then I'll have to find one more image, an antique image like that, hopefully. Not necessarily embroidered stockings, but something else small and cool. Small and cool. Okay, well, the next thing I was going to do was to make a card. This is just clipped to a page. It's glued to coffee dyed graph paper. So I'll probably go ahead and do that, but not on camera because I already have these. So I'll make some more and just keep them in my stash for other journals. So these are glued to coffee dyed. I think I can cut that off. Yep. Coffee dyed scrapbook paper and graph paper. I'm not doing inking in them in the journals. Okay, so those are all ready to be clipped to a page. This is a stamp from Tailor Made Journals. And she makes her own stamps out of images from antique images that she purchases. And this is Know Your Needles, and then it just has images of different types of needles and the names of the needles, which I thought was really cool. And so I have one more to do, and then we'll see. I might just keep going, depending on time. This is the pocket that we made on a video, and so these will be that pocket in the other journals. And I need something to tuck in. I think this is just so beautiful, but I don't have any other that color or that shape or size. So I decided to use the covers of the embroidery transfers. So let me get the measurement of this. I already closed it into my book. It's not quite 3.5 by just over 6. This is torn at the bottom, but this has ink scribbled on it, so I can glue this down. I'd rather not have the scribbled ink. It's going to be a little bit, just a little bit of the scribbling. Pretty close. Oops, it doesn't want to cut that. It is quite time-consuming to make ephemera, even though I'm keeping them simple, to make ephemera out of vintage items like these, because I have to take the time to go through my supplies and select things and cut them down. And so I spent time while I was watching TV the other day going through embroidery transfers and cutting images out of the transfer papers. And I kept some of the papers whole, the kind that would be good folded into a journal, into a signature. How big did I say this was? Right about there. Just over 6, I said, I guess. You know, so that took a good deal of time to go through all of my books and my clippings and my embroidery pattern, transfer patterns, and determine what I was going to use and get them ready And I hadn't even decided on using these until just before this video. So I just have some plain off-white cardstock, and all I'm going to do is glue them on and put it in the pocket as a tag, a journal card. This cardstock was cut to just the right size. It was just a leftover piece I had. And I used some of the envelopes from the embroidery transfers as pockets in the journals. I think you probably saw that when my first video, when I showed you the pages I was using. In fact, these, no, they're not made for that. Never mind. The first card that I made, I did not round the corners or anything because it was this square corner design. But these, I'll probably round the corners. They make pretty tags. All right, so there are 3 more tags. Aren't they cute? Let's see, that's all I had prepped, but I didn't want to spend more time doing prep work. So I figured I would do those and then see what else I could do. Where are we time-wise? 24 minutes, okay. I'll have other things to do on the pages, but I'm just kind of looking for ephemera that I need to make. So this is just a piece out of an antique magazine, an advertisement for bias tape. And I didn't do anything to it but clip it in because I thought it would be something that the owner of the book could use, cut things out of it, use it somehow, or even glue paper to the back and just journal on it. So let me see if I can find some antique ads. Let's see what we've got here. This is some of the stuff I was cutting and prepping. So I've got these, and they were too wide to make journal cards with for these journals, but I could fold this and clip it to the edge of a page, and I love this as a journal card. Maybe I don't know if you'd be able to use that in a journal, except you could write on that space. So I could just fold them and clip them to the edge of a page. That was easy. I'm trying to put them in the order in which they appear in the journals, so it doesn't confuse me about what I was going to use that for. All right, let's see what's next. I have some of these little printables that I can clip to the other side of the page. So there's one. These are the printables. And some real embroidery transfers. Okay, that's enough for all the journals. I'll just pop them in the little drawer. I have pieces of these. You may have seen them when I was looking at what's in my drawer. I have enough of these yarn and embroidery floss samples to glue on and make a little tuck spot. And then I just put little clippings. This is a journal card, just a little scrap, and I didn't do anything to that one. You could use either side, glue it down somewhere, and this is an embroidery transfer. I just tucked them in the pockets to give you something to play with. So I'll look for other things I can tuck in the other pockets. Did some stamping there. I just made sure I cut out some of the test pieces because they're cute. They're little, and I like that it says test. This one says trial. So I just embellished the page with these. It was to test your embroidery transfer on the fabric that you were using. Make sure you could iron it on. This one doesn't say test. I'll tuck those in the drawer. I added an extra page, and I have, not sure where I put them, but I think I have 3 more pages that are not like this, but I just had bonus pages, and I'm not sure where I put them, so I'll find them, and that'll be a surprise when I flip through it for you. But see, this is a crewel embroidery design from an old magazine, and I just collaged some bits on the inside, the back side. This is French directions printed on pattern tissue paper. Isn't that cool? Here's the embroidery transfer envelope that I put in the center, and I put a card made with a scrapbook paper, and I just glued on a couple images from a crochet instruction book, and you can journal on the back. So I have to make sure that the other patterns are, or the other envelopes are the same size. I can at least cut my paper to size. Yep, that's the same. I think they all are. This one might be a little different. Let's see. Yeah, it's shorter. And that's a little shorter, so I'll have to do some measuring. And I just got a message from my grandson that he's ready for me to go pick him up so we can have our Bible study this afternoon. But thanks for coming as we did some more work on these little journals. And I'm pretty excited about how they're going. And I had said I wanted to keep them simple, which I kind of am, but I'm kind of not, as you can see. but it's the nature of the supplies, I think. So I'm having fun. I'm not getting too carried away with adding too much, I don't think. So I hope you like them, and I hope you'll come back to see the finished product. And I'll see you then. Have a creative day. Bye-bye.